Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Paranormal Encyclopedia, not featuring the Paranormal Encyclopedia, Kevin Mears. I'm his co host, Brian McKinley, taking over. Kevin isn't feeling well this evening, so we were having a little technical difficulties, so that's why it's not live streaming. But I am here, godfather of vampire thrillers, along with our special guest, David MacDowell Blue.
Hi.
Hello again. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you.
So we're going to talk Dracula, Carmilla, all things vampires, maybe recent movies that have come out that we both enjoyed.
Yeah.
But let's
Well, I
start,
thought we were
David.
just going to discuss. I thought we were going to be discussing Dracula.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm
But,
leaving the topic wide open so that we can
oh, okay.
range.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
I can flap my jaw forever.
yeah. I thought
Okay.
so. Me too at times.
All
So, introduce yourself again for the audience, anybody that
right.
didn't see the first one.
Hello. My name is David MacDowell Blue. I am mostly a playwright, but I'm also a theater reviewer here in Los Angeles. Theater has a huge theater community, about 200 theater companies. And I have adapted Carmilla and Dracula, both for the stage and for audio. I'm also the editor of the annotated Carmilla, over 400 footnotes crammed into a book, the text of Carmilla with some essays on top of that and things like that.
Very good.
Um, thank you. And what was I going to, what else could I say? I I have a few writing projects about vampires in the works. I'm not quite sure which ones are going to come into fruition when. As a writer, I tend to let things simmer in the back of my head, uh, uh, or I like to say, the stove in the back of my unconscious, and wait until it's time to put it in the meat
Oh,
and things like that. Uh,
so
so
yeah. So what about the Dracula adaptations? We can start with those. Your
well, I
first
mean, I
one
did
and
one in college. I did one in college. I did one in college. It was just done by a local theater. Basically, it was called the Student Theater Guild. I don't have a copy of it anymore. But I then later wrote an adaptation just at the beginning of COVID that was done by my theater company, Fierce Backbone, via Zoom. You can see it if you go to fiercebackbone.com. It takes a little while to find it, but it's there. Um, and that has been, there's another production that was done in Las Vegas the year before last. I know nothing about it except there was one performance and they paid me. Yay.
yeah.
And then I put together my own production of it, audio, which has been, the first half came out a few months ago. The second half I've been struggling with because I found several sound files had gone missing and I couldn't reproduce them due to it was difficult to get the cast together and stuff. But I found a workaround. So by the end of the month, the second half should be completely ready and done. And so
Is
I'm really
that
pleased about that.
that's the Wings of Dracula?
The Wings of Dracula. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm very pleased about that. Notice my arrogance is I assumed you meant my adaptations of Dracula as opposed to anyone, the ones that anyone's heard of.
Hey, not everybody. I mean, most people never would even think to try to make a new stage adaptation, especially. Everybody just falls back on the old Hamilton Dean one.
Mhm. Well, there are a couple of other play versions that are fairly well known.
It's like you frozen up a little there.
Called The Passion of Dracula.
Okay. You froze up a little bit.
Adapter. Testing, one, two, three.
Yeah. You
Okay,
your screen froze for a minute there.
okay. That was, I got to notice, that was the internet here, not my Wi-Fi adapter. I've got a new Wi-Fi adapter. I'm getting much better internet, but
Yeah.
there are at least three other major stage versions I know of, apart from that, the classic original. But there's also The Passion of Dracula, which came out in the 1970s, I think, which is a very gothic, romantic version. Then there is Count Dracula by, I believe, Ted Miller. And that's a very, very sinister, almost camp version. And then, of course, there's the musical by Frank Wildthorne, which has never been hugely popular in the English-speaking world, but has been very popular, like, for example, in Europe and Japan.
Wow. See, I didn't
Yeah,
know
in
about any
fact,
of those.
yeah, Frank Wildthorne, even because Japanese musical theater has the tradition of women playing men's roles. So a very beautiful actress was playing Dracula, and she married Frank Wildthorne. So I've seen a bunch of clips of it. It was quite interesting, quite interesting.
Yeah,
But
Dracula musical.
it's kind of it is somewhat reminiscent of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Hmm. I could see that. If you're going to make a musical, you're going to have to play up certain aspects.
Hmm. Kind of obvious to try to make the idea of the romance between the villain and the female lead. I personally thought Bram Stoker's Dracula did that so well. I wish they just stopped for a while.
I
It's just don't do
agree.
it for a while.
That was a
Yeah,
fantastic movie.
I agree. I agree. I have some complaints about it. I know it was originally written as a miniseries, and I think it shows. It's just so crammed full of things.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I think if you're going to do something like that, you should probably streamline it a bit more. That's what I did.
Yeah.
So,
I was kind of surprised that that Coppola did Dracula and didn't just go straight for a remake of Nosferatu, given the style that he ended up using. It would have been appropriate, but then we probably wouldn't have gotten Robert Eggers' excellent
mhm.
film.
Yeah, it was also the way, I mean, he obviously wanted to go whole hog with color.
Yeah,
And he obviously wanted, because, the man who wrote the screenplay, James V. Hart, really, really wanted that romance, that whole idea of, reincarnated love, which
sure.
comes basically from the mummy. And it's fine.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Dan Curtis version, the TV version, I think with Jack Palance also did
mhm.
that
Yeah, but he was
idea.
borrowing from himself because he did that in Dark Shadows.
Uh,
Although interestingly, in Dark Shadows, and I think it worked better, for a daily soap opera, the woman he thought of as having been his love reincarnated, Barnabas, well, he was wrong.
yeah,
She wasn't reincarnated, and he was, and this developed this interesting triangle when he was trying to recreate the past, but at the same time, he is genuinely falling in love with a woman of the present who is not Chosette, in any way. And so you had this tug of war over, is he going to slip into this delusion, this comfortable delusion, or is he going to try for real love?
hmm,
And it seems to me none of the iterations of Dark Shadows afterwards ever went after something that nuanced and juicy.
true.
Then because Dan Curtis was writing the others. And he didn't write the original Barnabas Collins story, The Dark Shadows.
Very
So anyway, so but yeah.
what is your take, your version's take on Dracula?
Oh,
Like what's similar, what's different? What elements of the novel do you use that
well,
maybe others didn't?
as it happens, I gave an entire speech about this at the World Dracula Congress 3 years ago
Ah, well,
called Reinventing Dracula. And part of what I was saying, I'm going to give this in a very, very brief sort of way, is if you're going to reinvent, if you're going to do another Dracula, you better come up with something original. Otherwise, who cares?
exactly.
So I thought about all sorts of things, and I did several things that were, I think, I think worked. First of all, in terms of Dracula, I decided that if he's been alive like 450 years, but actually for 400 or plus of those years, he's been dead. I don't think he thinks of himself as a human being anymore.
Sure.
So what is he? And I just can't. I just don't believe. I eventually came up with the idea that he thinks of himself as death. He is, in effect, an angel of death.
Huh.
And as such, he is completely ruthless, but at the same time, he is hardly ever cruel. But he's also very confused in some ways because there's a lot he doesn't remember. I mean, he's over 400 years old. There's plenty he's forgotten.
Yeah.
There's things he's not sure of his human life. He's not sure his memories are reliable. And I also, although it's not dealt with a lot, there was this notion in the novel I found very interesting that Lucy sees the world as a dream. She's wandering through this endless dream as a vampire. And I went with the idea that that's what being a vampire is like. It's just Dracula is so old and such a powerful will that he's having the equivalent of lucid dreaming. So he can make plans, but at the same time, he's also pulled by intuitions and feelings that he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why he has come to England, for example. He keeps asking every now and then, he'll ask, "Are you why I am here?" Because he's not sure. So he's somewhat lost. At the same time, by making him deaf, I gave the automatic relationship of every single character to Dracula. Their relationship to death is their relationship to Dracula. Denial, terror. In my version, and this is again, I gave myself permission to change anything I wanted.
Sure.
So to streamline my purposes, everything happens in Whitby. We don't go to Castle Dracula. It would be fun, but we don't go there. We don't go to London. Everything happens in Whitby. Carfax is in Whitby.
Nice.
The insane asylum is in.
Stats.
We don't have to.
That's a playwright's mentality there.
Yeah. Yeah, but also it's not just a matter of sets, because this was primarily written as an audio show. Is that it's a matter of no distractions. It's allowing focus. This also allows me to, for example, I wanted to include as many of the core characters as possible. And of the core characters, the only ones I think I completely omitted, other than the brides, are Lucy's mother and Jonathan Harker's boss, and also Mr. Swales, the old guy. It's full of stories. They're cut. At the same time, I changed all sorts of things. In my version, Lucy is dying of tuberculosis, or consumption, as they would call it then. She's dying. She's in a lot of pain. Her parents died of the same thing. She knows she's dying. So when she sees Dracula, she just sees the angel of death and says, hello. She's not afraid of death at all. She's gotten to the point where she's afraid of nothing.
Yeah. Oh.
I wanted the obvious big love story in this thing to be Arthur and not Arthur, but Harker and Mina.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of reimagined Harker more to what he seems like in the first quarter of the book, where he's this manly man, where he escapes from Dracula's castle, which is no small feat. And he does it by climbing down a castle wall, then a cliff, and then and he's not an experienced climber or anything, but he manages to do it and then survive in the Transylvania wilderness for at least a week. This sounds like someone who's incredibly tough.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I had the whole idea that he's actually from a Scrabble farm in Yorkshire, and that everything he is, and that he's risen by his own willpower to become a lawyer, which is what he is. I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to do. And this helps explain why Mina is so gobsmacked in love with him. And I also made a big point of making them very religious. They met in a library and all this, and they are like this. And I cut Van Helsing.
Oh, that's a big change.
Well, because he diffuses drama. Every time people start fighting, Van Helsing calms them down and says, we have to focus on this. It's way more fun if they continue fighting, if they have to get around that. Also, if there's nobody there who can tell them, who's an expert on what being a vampire is. The nearest expert they have is Jonathan Harker, because he has actual practical experience. But particularly the three suitors, they don't know him at all. And they're higher than him on the social structure.
Yeah.
So he has to come in and figure out, how do I help save these people when they don't know me? And if I start talking about vampires and walking corpses, drinking blood, they're going to stick me in that sanatorium.
Yeah.
So he and Mina have worked out after, when he gets back, he's worked out a plan. She's absolutely behind it, is to trick them into doing the right thing. For the wrong reasons, which is rather fun. I also made
a great version.
I also made Renfield a woman.
Oh,
because I just thought that would be an interesting thing to do. I mean, Renfield is a really, really cool character, in my opinion. I mean, I think Renfield is to Dracula what Gollum is to Lord of the Rings. But part of my instinct as a playwright is, are there any of these characters, particularly like from the 19th century work, which is like, okay, women make up half the human race. And in Dracula, there's like 15 major speaking roles, and 2 of them are women.
Yeah.
So I switched it up. So I made Renfield a woman, and I somewhat changed her madness. I thought it'd be more interesting, just because we've seen the buggy-eating maniac over and over again, if in fact she is a psychic. That's why she's in the mental asylum. She and her mother and others in her family have always had second sight. But when this dark god began approaching her in her visions, she had a complete collapse, and she doesn't understand why she's sensing these horrible visions of things. Why does she taste blood in her mouth?
Yeah.
And the other thing was that since the law, that would mean that, okay, this changed all sorts of deals. If Dr. Seward, if Renfield is a woman, that means Dr. Seward is running a woman's sanitarium. And that is a different thing. Yeah. This is much closer to what we would call a health spa, because these women's sanatoria were how women could deal with things we would automatically recognize as postpartum depression or something like that.
Right.
And they were taken away from pressure. They were given nice food. Let's go walk or do the bicycle, listen to some music. We'll play badminton. We'll talk to people. You get to talk to each other, listen to music. And it was just a relax and just feel better. But also there was a certain amount of prestige for people who ran such institutions to accept charity cases. And that's what Renfield is. But the rules of that kind of thing is the attendants in such a hospital must be women, which is reassuring when you think about it.
Yeah,
So,
honestly.
have you looked at the original notes of Dracula that were found
Um,
in the 1970s?
I have not, well, actually, I've seen them
Mm-hmm.
because me and Kevin went to Philadelphia
Mm-hmm.
and took a tour of the museum with Dacre Stoker,
Oh,
where
fun.
he showed us the original notes that his great granduncle had made and explained some of the more interesting
Mm-hmm.
features of them. So yeah, we do have a little bit. I do have
Uh-huh.
a little bit of that knowledge. I have a version of the annotated Dracula in my
Uh-huh.
library.
Well, here's the thing. That one mentions a third woman who was supposed to be Lucy, Mina, and Kate.
Ah,
So that they were all in school together. So I was trying to dovetail all this so that Kate is an attendant. She went to school with Mina and Lucy because let's say Mina's working class, and so is Kate. Lucy is upper class, but my idea was her family has lost most of their money. That's why she had to sell off a bunch of properties, one
right.
of which is Carfax. So, but the whole thing is that Kate, therefore, the attendant of Renfield, is a former schoolmate of Mina and Lucy, although she hasn't seen them for years.
Oh, okay.
So this is how I got this lovely little knot. And so um, I actually had, so that gives you some idea of how I changed it. I also was willing to go into a few um, little things. For example, I gave people, someone once said, someone who read it and saw it, uh, the Zoom production, asked, "Am I picking up on something, or is there something between Arthur and Quincy? There's just something." And I said, "That's left in the open. Oh, I've thought that's always a possibility. We're just going to leave that in the air.
Yeah,
So if the actors choose to do anything with it, they can, or not."
very nice.
Just as there's a certain sense that Kate was very close friends with Lucy, and then Mina came in, and Mina became her much closer friend. And Kate is still, to some extent, not over it.
Hmm.
And if you want to throw something homoerotic about that, again, fine, you may or may not. It's just there.
Yeah,
As a playwright, I'm a collaborator. I've got there are actors and directors who are going to work with me, whether
right.
I'm there or not,
Yeah,
to
give the
bring
actor
something new
something
to the
to
script.
add layers to their
Yeah,
performance.
yeah. That's why I personally think being a playwright is much easier than being a novelist.
Interesting. I did write one play early in my career and a couple of screenplays, but yeah, no, it's a different skill set to be sure.
Mhm.
I find I prefer novels, but
That's fine.
but
And good
there
for
was
you.
there was
I like
something,
your novels.
yeah, there was something easier about writing screenplay format. I'll give you that much.
Hmm. So anyway, I think that gives some idea of what the wings of Dracula are about. And part is that in the sound effect that, of course, Dracula, when he wants to, has wings.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing.
Um, and so this huge sound of these wings
Yeah.
flying. The actor who played Dracula in the production that I am still piecing together for audio, a very, very fine man. I once had this interesting conversation with him because he would love to be immortal. He would say, "Oh, I'd love to know what's going to happen in the next 100 years. I want to see the world 200 years from now."
Yeah.
And I told him, "You see, I wouldn't want to be immortal. It's almost killed me losing the people I've loved so far." and
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that again. If I had to do, you had to tell me that every single time I fall in love with someone of any kind, in any way, I lose them. Uh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Different viewpoint.
There's definitely a reason why vampires would tend to become somewhat cold and closed
Mm-hmm,
off because it's just emotional defense. You
mm-hmm.
really need to do that, unless of course your paramour was another vampire.
It's interesting how I think that idea of the loneliness of the vampire really played up into, um, I mentioned to you before we started, in the last 10 months, two films came out that instantly went on my top 10 vampire list.
Yeah.
One, of course, being, uh, uh, you know, Nosferatu, the new version, and the other being Sinners. And both of them deal with that, albeit in completely different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, the vampire in Sinners, the initial Remick vampire is really
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
You could do a
And
whole
the whole I
story of his background.
yeah, but the whole notion that that these group of vampires all share each other's minds.
Yeah.
They're still individuals, but they know everything about each other. And part of Remick is that he doesn't have any of his people.
Yeah.
You know, if it mentions he mentions specifically that the people came and took his father's land and forced them to read the Lord's Prayer. So that means, okay, that seems to me that means that he became a vampire when Ireland was being forced to accept Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
That
really old.
means that means he is at least 1,200 years old.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah. And all of his like all of his contemporaries, no matter how many vampires he made, they're all dead. And you can see that's why he wants Sammy. That's why he wants Preacher Boy,
Yeah.
because that music could let him see his people again. What an interesting idea.
Yeah,
What
he's
an
one of the more
interesting idea.
fascinating villains that I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Yeah. And it's profound. And his loneliness is also profoundly selfish,
Yeah.
profoundly so. Um, I see. And then, of course, Orlok in the new Nosferatu is, again, this incredibly old vampire. I mean, the little detail, I don't know if you're aware of this, but evidently for the production, Robert Eggers hired someone to try to reproduce the language Dacian.
Yeah.
Dacian is the language that was spoken in the region we call Romania before the Roman Empire took it over.
Right. Yeah. I was not aware of
So
that.
yeah, I mean, so it's this little thing you find out if you just really do a deep dive into stuff.
Yeah.
But the
I
thing
know he was
is,
supposed to be medieval. I didn't realize he was even supposed to be older than that.
yeah, he's pre-Roman.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, that means, he's older than Christianity.
Yeah.
No wonder he's not afraid of crosses.
Yeah. Why would he be?
Yeah, it's just, and no wonder he just seems so unhuman and he's so powerful.
Yeah. I like how
And
it just
it's,
describes himself as nothing but an appetite.
yeah, except that until she woke him,
Yeah.
and now he cannot be sated any other way. Yeah, that was really, really interesting. Both of those versions just a really, really fascinating idea. I am, yeah. So that's my view. Now, like I said, I can flap my jaw for hours if need be, but I'm sure you have some questions you want to ask me rather than just listening to me
This is pretty
hypothesize.
much just a free-ranging discussion, but yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean the idea was that it would be in the loose framework of talking about Dracula because I knew you were working on an adaptation.
Mhm.
and had done them in the past. Um, you've been mentioning on Facebook that you're starting on a new sort of modern Carmilla
I'm
idea.
interested. I'm interested in this because it's one of the things. I mean, you and I, and probably everyone listening to this podcast knows that, of course, Salem's Lot
Mm,
is Stephen King retelling Dracula,
yes.
and you can look at it and see that, and clearly, this vampire is not Dracula. Clearly, the vampires in Salem's Lot are not the vampires in Dracula.
No.
Um, there are the characters are not one on one, and it's much more focusing on like modern issues and the like.
Yeah.
Um, basic, and part of that is the guilt of the small town that doesn't admit it's guilty.
Yeah.
Because the character that Salem's Lot is the title character. And this was written right after Vietnam.
Yeah. It's a great novel.
It is. I agree with you. It is a great novel, and I'm not really satisfied with any of the versions that have been adapted to it.
Yeah.
Although they all have some nice touches. They all
They
have some nice touches.
they do. My favorite, ironically, is the Rob Lowe TNT
I
miniseries.
can understand that.
just just because like I thought that one hit some of the characters and just the vibe, the narration sounded very Stephen King. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it just felt the most like the novel to
Sure.
me,
Yeah.
even though it's not
Uh,
the most one-on-one
oh
accurate.
no, it's not. It's interesting. It's an interesting adaptation in many ways. I think it kind of veers away from the essence of the novel, but that's okay. Um, there were a few things I liked in the most recent version, even though nothing in the last third.
No, I'm the same way. The first like half hour, 45 minutes of that movie gave me a lot of hope. I
Yeah,
thought it was going to be a really terrific version, and then it
the
just,
relationship between Ben and Susan, that's my favorite one
yeah.
I've ever seen, was that relationship. I
And
believed
and the
it.
70s aesthetic, the just the vibe of
Mm-hmm.
the town. I thought they got that really well in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Him showing up and the music and everything, and then it was like then it just slowly kind of started going downhill.
Yeah. And, I really didn't like the kid turning out to be a psychopath.
Hmm.
He's killing all these people and not a trace of being disturbed. He just makes a
Yeah,
joke.
yeah, that
I'm
was,
sorry. What the hell was that all about?
yeah.
Uh,
In a modern day kid, that might be a little more, but this is supposed to be a kid in the 70s that's,
I don't buy
much.
it. I don't buy it as a modern day kid either. If I think a kid tried to do him, I would believe him trying to do that and failing.
Maybe, yeah.
That I would believe.
Trying
But
to
I don't.
emulate all the movie
But I
heroes
don't
that he
believe. But
watches.
yeah, I can see him trying to do that, but he should fail
Yeah.
because those characters. James Bond is a psychopath. Okay, someone who does that has serious, dangerous issues, and this kid is way too cold blooded. There were things in it I liked. There were things in it, little bits and pieces,
No, you're
particularly
right. He
as I
he
said, for the
adapts
first
he
half hour.
adapts to the extreme violence much too quickly.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, after all that successful setting up of me believing that Ben and Susan were a couple, and Ben didn't even mourn her.
Yeah. And then
I mean,
they
if I
just,
had to do that, I would be a wreck. I
yeah.
would be an absolute wreck. I probably would have said, "Take me, just take me. I don't want to be alive anymore." If that would be just, but that's the other thing. But if you're going to get the idea, which I like, of the idea, if you're going to retell Dracula in a modern setting,
Hmm.
addressing at different issues, then if you're going to do, then I would like to do that with Carmilla. Now, I have already done that. Okay. Flagrant personal plug here. I wrote an adaptation of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds as a radio play,
Which is a
and it is
great,
being
another great
done.
novel.
It is being done by the Post Meridian Players in October. They do live radio shows on stage with the Foley artists and all this, and they're going to do that.
Oh,
This,
congratulations.
and one of the things that interested me so much about War of the Worlds when I started looking at it was it was written in a very, very topical way. It was about a specific issue. And if you really dive into what was going on just before that book was published, you recognize what it's about. But when was the last time you heard someone complain about how the British Empire treated Tasmania?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
H.G. Wells was a
it's kind of a
very
dead issue.
socially conscious writer.
Yeah, but he's being but for that one was real specific. So all
Yeah.
the good adaptations of War of the Worlds since then, starting with the 1938 radio adaptation with Orson Welles, have been about the topicality of their times. Like the Steven Spielberg film is clearly about the experience of 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody saw it like that. My version is about something I think is a bit what I built into it, because they were encouraged you try to do something original. So I shifted the location to the San Francisco Bay Area. And instead of the 1890s or very early 1900s, I moved it to 1908. And I made as many of the lead characters female as I logically could given the period.
Okay.
Like the reporter, there are plenty of female journalists, and that's the central character in mind. There were women who were important astronomers at that time. But there were also, the other women that we meet. One of them is, for example, the daughter of a farmer / mayor of a small town. Yeah, she's just this little sweet ingenue thing. And she's a major character. But the whole point is what I wanted to focus on as a topic was what is, and I'll put it as a way of a question, what is the absolutely worst way to respond to trauma? Because that's what the people in War of the Worlds are experiencing. They're experiencing gigantic trauma in many ways. For much of the novel, the background is essentially a post-apocalyptic background.
Yeah.
Because as far as they're concerned, the world has been destroyed until something happens at the very end, because the damage is actually in a small pocket of the world. What is the worst way to respond to trauma of this kind? And the answer, of course, is to inflict your trauma on others. It's to lose your humanity. And I would maintain, when we did a reading of it, because I did a reading to try to polish it, that was the thing that people responded to most strongly of all, saying that really feels like it's hitting right now.
Yeah.
So I would like to do that with Carmilla, setting it in a modern time and re-examining its themes or its basic themes in terms of modern situation, certainly reimagining it, because Carmilla is set in a very, very isolated place. How isolated can you be in the modern world with the internet?
True.
That's an aspect of it. The relationship between science and faith is different now than in the middle of the 1800s.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's just as important.
Also, the awareness of vampires.
Yeah. Yeah, but keep in mind, in the novella Carmilla, there are people who say, wait a minute, this is a vampire. There's a vampire loose. And then sort of, oh, pshaw. I suppose next week you'll saying the bad weather is because of dragons. It's that sort of thing. Yeah. And that kind of. But there's also this other thing is that, and it's a subtle thing. In Carmilla, there are no young people of Laura's class anywhere near her. Certainly no young men of her class. So there's that extra layer of loneliness. And so again, if it's a modern era, she would have access to the internet. So you have to say, okay, what else is there? There must be more than just physical isolation going on here. Likewise, if you go with too stereotypical a vampire, then there's always the thing even if the real fact of the matter is one of the things I didn't like about the most recent Salem's Lot is how easy it was to persuade everybody that this is vampires.
Yeah.
In the real world, you got everybody, you're nuts. Absolutely not. Those are mosquito bites. He died of anemia. It was rapid onset anemia. That's very unusual. But you think a corpse has been drinking your son's blood. Okay, here's some pills. I think maybe you should try to take them. Don't drink them with alcohol. That's what's going to happen in the real world.
Yeah,
in the real world. Even if we are going to stop it, even if we're going, you idiot, you're in a vampire movie. You should know. But anyone who says it's a vampire is going to be made fun of. They're not going to be taken seriously by a lot of people. In Salem's Lot, all someone had to do was go, yeah, well, look at those marks. Oh my God, it's a vampire. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing about Santa Carla, I never could stomach all the damn vampires.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. The fact that he wasn't telling anyone, but everyone thinks he's the crazy old man. If he'd said anything,
that was the best. That was just the best ending line. Like,
yeah, that was great. So that's again something that has to be reimagined. And part of all that is, and I have come up with a few solutions in that direction. I do want to move it to an island off the coast of Northern California. Is there a problem?
No.
Okay.
No, we're still going. Sorry, the error message popped up on my computer.
Oh, okay.
How fast?
Doesn't
have to do with this.
But the idea is that an island, and it's an island community, and that I was just assuming that this was a few years in the future when there's a lot of crisis going on, and there has been a draft. So now, basically, every able-bodied young man is gone from this community, leaving old men and women. That's part of the whole background. And
sure.
And I'm going to throw in a lighthouse because that's what is what America has instead of ruined old castles.
Yeah,
we have lighthouses.
Nice old lighthouse. It sounds really cool.
Potentially, we'll see what's going to happen here.
So we were also talking before about some other issues with vampires. What We Do in the Shadows.
Mm-hmm. Which I love.
Movies. Yeah, it's a great series. It was a great movie. It's a great series.
It's a great movie, great series. I just think that there's, in fact, this would be an interesting thing to discuss in and of itself is why is it there are so few genuinely funny vampire comedies? Now, you may or may not like a given movie, but it's hard to deny whether or not it made you laugh, or
Right.
does it make other people laugh? And I made a list. I mean, um, some of these are a little bit of a stretch, but I do think What We Do in the Shadows, Abigail, Renfield, Sundown, The Vampire in Retreat, Love at First Bite,
Mhm.
and um, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Right. All
And
very
other
good.
than maybe Suck.
That one
The,
I don't think I've
oh,
seen.
that's a obscure little movie. It's about this rock band, this struggling rock band. They're just trying on tour, and the young woman who's the bass player at one of their places go out to dinner with some people. She comes back and she's different. She's very pale. She has deep red lips. Her skin is perfect. Her hair is perfect. She has incredibly magnetic eyes. And now, whenever she plays, people can't take their eyes off of her. She is surrounded by dark glamour. We all know what happened, right?
Right.
She's now a vampire. And it is treated in some ways like hilarious. Is that of course, she periodically gets very, very thirsty. And while they're driving to the next place, she says, I have to stop and at this equivalent of, they're refilling the tank, and there's a convenience store attached to the gas station in the middle of nowhere.
Sure.
And she goes in, and she's looking around, and she sees this young twerp who's working there, and he is dumbfounded because she's so gorgeous now. And he says, "Is there anything I can get you?" She says, "Yes, I'm very thirsty." He goes, "Well, we have this kind of Slurpees and this one." And she goes, "That sounds like a good idea." A few minutes later, one of her band comes in to the convenience store. She has one of these long Slurpee straws stuck into this guy's neck, and she's sucking him drunk. She's looking up, he's going, "Ah, ah." It's all right, Jack, I'm your friend, but you're going to have to help me get rid of the body. Okay, okay. Yeah. And that's the sort of humor that goes in. Among other
Yeah.
things, by the way, Alice Cooper is in it.
Oh, fun. So
And
I'm curious, my in that the this topic, why don't you consider say Fright Night, the original, not the remake, but the original to be like one of the successful vampire comedies? Because
because
I think it's definitely a comedy first and a horror movie second. But
well, it's
that's
a
my
matter of
take on it.
opinion. It's a matter of opinion. To
Yeah.
me, it is a horror movie with humor.
See, I just think the premise is inherently
Humorous,
funny
sure,
and absurd, and therefore it's more of a
but it's
comedy.
but it's played for horror.
Hmm.
It's played for horror. And the climax is, the whole thing of it is a matter of horror. When Ed becomes a vampire, it's horrifying. It's frightening. Um, it's
Huh. See, I thought he
the
was
fact.
hilarious as a vampire, but
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But his becoming a vampire was portrayed as horrific.
Hmm.
And his death is horrific.
The
Um,
death I'll grant you, they really milk that for as much drama as
yeah, I think
you can
that's
get.
is to me. It takes a premise that sounds silly. The guy, a vampire moves next door,
Yeah.
and it has humorous elements in it beyond any shadow of a doubt. But the emphasis is on the horror. The emphasis is on the thrills. The emphasis is on the danger that these people are in.
Hmm.
How much danger is this guy's mother in? That the story is also, frankly, of Peter Vincent suddenly just gaining belief in himself.
Yeah.
Uh, and is there anything when he holds up a cross and Jerry Dandridge just laughs. He goes, "Against me, you need faith." And
Yeah.
Peter Vincent just steps forward and you go, oh, because now he has faith, which I like the idea is that, of course, and fair's fair. So this is also somewhat dealt with in From Dusk Till Dawn the first one.
Yeah.
Is that the consequence. Once you see that vampires are real, that's a domino effect,
Yeah.
into your worldview. It's like when, George Clooney's character in From Dusk Till Dawn, he simply said, these things are vampires. And those things came right out of hell. And if there's a hell, that means there's a heaven. And that means there's a God. And that means you, Mr. Preacher Man, you are the most powerful weapon we've got.
Yeah.
Because
part
you
of it,
are a man
of that
of
movie
God.
was really good.
I'm not. Yeah. And those are the things about it that were, cool. It makes sense to me that, of course, Peter Vincent, once it really sinks into his bones that vampires are real, he might gain faith.
Yeah.
And therefore the cross now works.
Okay.
I like that.
I just thought that
I'm
would
not putting
be
the movie
interesting.
down.
I just wanted to know your reasoning.
Yeah, that's the reasoning. Is because it seems to me, and I'm totally realize this is a personal opinion. Yeah. It seems to me this is primarily a horror movie with laughs.
I noticed,
and it's a good horror movie
Dracula
with good laughs.
Wasn't on your list.
No, I can't stand that. I cannot. It's not funny. I didn't laugh.
Yeah, I didn't find it up to Mel Brooks's usual standards either.
Yeah, and even if he hadn't made Young Frankenstein, with which we will inevitably compare it.
Yeah. Even on its own,
I wouldn't laugh.
It was a little too silly.
Yeah, and it's not that some of these people are saying, oh damn, they're trying so hard, and some of these people are really good, but it's just not working. It's just not working. So that was me. Yeah, there's some other comedies like do you remember Vampires Suck?
Oh God. Yeah, that was.
Oh God, yeah. You tried to forget it, didn't you?
Yeah, no, it was one of those.
Didn't we all try to forget it?
Yeah, that just was so bad. It wasn't even like a vampire comedy. It was just they threw in some trappings.
Yeah,
I remember the ones in the '80s like Vamp and Once Bitten and movies like
Once Bitten. Again, it's an attempt. It didn't work.
Yeah, it's
my best friend is a vampire.
Falls flat.
My best friend is a vampire is mildly okay, but it's not primarily a comedy. Yeah. It's a coming of age movie, and works as a coming of age movie. It does. It works, but it's not a vampire movie. It's not a horror movie, and it's not it's not primarily a horror movie, but not primarily a vampire movie, and it's certainly not primarily a comedy.
Okay.
In my opinion, your mileage may vary.
That's fair.
That's what makes horse races. I enjoyed My Best Friend is a Vampire, but
yeah, getting back to Dracula, I think one of the things that made Renfield work undoubtedly, not that Nicholas Hoult wasn't fantastic, but just Nicolas Cage going to 11 as Dracula was just you can't ask for more than that. When Nicolas Cage lets the crazy loose, it's really something to enjoy.
Oh my God, yes. It's just I mean just this complete over the top. Okay, yeah, dial that up to 11.
Yeah. my favorite, I think my favorite scene in that whole movie has got to be where Renfield comes home to his apartment and Dracula's sitting there waiting for him with the little martini glass of blood and is just playing it off like he's acting very calm, but you can see in his eyes like he's just getting more and more ramped up and ready to explode.
And the way he's just doing that smiling. Yeah, listening to it, sure.
Oh, really? Oh, you have a busload of people waiting for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You just
and then coming up with the most just strangely saying, I'm not the monster here. You are.
Yeah, I am the true
Yeah,
victim
even though
here.
he's got a mouthful of shark teeth.
Yeah,
Yes,
Dracula as a complete malignant narcissist, which was just a
yes,
brilliant idea.
yeah. And just, yeah, it's a complete. And yeah, that was so much fun. That was so much fun. I can understand why some people might not regard Abigail as a comedy, but I think the comedy was intertwined in everything on every level.
Mm.
It's like they,
It was definitely an amusing premise, although I think maybe the action adventure element kind of
Mhm.
might make people wonder if it's really meant to be a comedy, but
Yeah, but even
it,
that was kind of funny in a
it
very
is funny.
dark sort of way. Just the amount of blood exploding all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little vampire ballerina.
yeah, or when she's taken over the young woman and she's saying, she got him. Her back is turned. She got him. And trying to sound so innocent and just and the both of them went, I don't believe this. just
Yeah.
um, and just yeah, I mean to me that's funny because everything in the film they played it to some degree for laughs.
Hmm.
They were trying to milk as much humor as they could out of the premise and the scenes they were working on, even to the fact that certain characters kind of the characters just were speaking these ridiculous, silly things like, what do we know about vampires? Well, what kind of vampires are you talking about? Anne Rice, Twilight, you're talking about Dracula.
Mhm.
That
Well,
she's geeking out at the one moment
yeah.
that is
That's the
absolutely
fun part is
useless and yet useful. But just the geeking out
as a
is just
society we're so vampire literate now. We have
yeah, and
such a variety to choose from.
yeah, and it's just or the simple fact that when Abigail begins removing the handcuffs,
Hmm.
and suddenly just one person's going, guys, guys, because that's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
So yeah, but that's why I think Abigail as a comedy is a dark comedy, is because they're trying to squeeze as much humor as they can out of everything they can. But I think Fright Night is just uh, seasoning the story with humor
Hmm.
and doing it very well.
Yeah. Have you ever
That's just
seen
a viewpoint.
Tom Holland, the writer and director of the Fright Night, wrote a novelization essentially. It's
Oh,
called Fright
cool.
Night Origins, but it's pretty much the story of the movie, but done in a novel format with a lot more depth into everything. So you get
Is this the
background.
original or the remake?
The original.
Okay, I've not seen that, surprisingly.
Yeah, I had a copy of it and I read it and I thought it
Mhm.
was very good. I was a little surprised because I thought that it was going into the backstory completely, but it really does tell the story of the movie, but it just goes into more depth in all the scenes and
Cool.
everything. You get more of
Oh,
Jerry's background and
here's another one I will mention. Something that did not make the list, and neither one of us even thought to mention it.
uh,
Dark Shadows.
oh yeah, the Tim Burton one. I didn't
Yeah,
mind that. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was a terrible movie
I
either.
didn't mind it either. I think I was the exact audience it was aimed for. But
Yeah.
at the same time, and it's not even that the humor wasn't funny, because the humor was funny. My problem was that the story didn't lend itself to this style of humor.
Yeah.
It's Tim Burton in, pushing something that is shaped like a rare steak into a cookie cutter and pretending and then sprinkling it with sugar.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it didn't, and to my mind, it just didn't work. It's not that the individual things in it weren't entertaining. because they were. I found them very entertaining. I thought
Yeah.
a lot of them were extremely interesting little curlicue ideas. It would have been kind of fun if they'd made it as a complete farce,
Yeah.
making fun of Gothic vampire stuff just generally. That would have been fun.
I think they could have done that. They could have gone that little bit further and really committed
Mm-hmm.
to all
But
the
instead, they went with Tim Burton's specific flavor of whimsy,
yeah.
and the story doesn't lend itself to that.
No, like Wednesday, the show, that works really well with Tim Burton's
Sure,
abilities.
sure. Yes, it does. Yes, it
But
does.
yeah,
You're taking the characters and reimagining it as, crossing with a murder mystery, the Addams Family, and then, Hogwarts, which is fine. And it works. I'm really looking forward to season 2.
me too.
Yeah. And I have a feeling, once again, the vampires are going to get a shortchanged.
Yeah, we need more vampires.
Yeah, there are vampires. We know there are vampires going to
Yeah,
that school. And
be represented.
yeah, and all we know is one of them is named Yoko and is one of Enid's best friends.
Hmm. Maybe they'll get more in this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're coming up on the hour now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Thank you for letting me
yeah,
do
no,
this.
thank you for coming
This
on.
is relaxing, among other things.
Yeah, no, we had it went by so fast because it was just so easy to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, just geek out for a while about Dracula and
Yeah, and
vampires
we'll
and
definitely
stuff.
have you back on again when Kevin
Thank
can
you.
be here and he can ask you some questions and share his
Mm-hmm.
opinions. Don't mention Dracula Dead and Loving It though, because he actually really likes that movie.
Well, that's fine. I'm glad somebody did.
I know, I'm
I'm
kidding.
glad somebody did. I know there are people who do,
Yeah,
but then there are people who enjoy football. I have no idea why.
same.
But okay, but hey, I'm glad they're having fun. It's like people who like to drink beer. I don't like beer.
No, me neither.
It's a good time. There's more. Yeah, there's more for you if I don't drink any. You enjoy.
Exactly.
Just yeah, it's that sort of thing.
Fair.
They feel the same way about mustard. I like mustard.
Same.
Yeah. Just a little bit of heads up.
Do you
If you
have
want to talk,
anything else that you want to plug or aside from I know there's the War of the Worlds thing, that's really cool.
yeah, but that's in October. That's a few months from now. Hint, hint.
We could
But
definitely think about getting you back on for October.
the yeah, I I am percolating about this idea. I even have a Pinterest board for images and ideas for this notion about retelling Carmilla. It's tentatively called Whisper Island,
Oh,
which is a good name.
that's not bad.
We'll
Yeah.
see. Um,
Oh,
and I'm advancing with a few other notions here and there about stuff, but I'm focusing on several different plays. And there's also another very, very Gothic project. And hopefully, next time you have me over, I can talk to you about that. I will say it is the idea is an audio series, very Gothic, in a very weird little town called The Shoals.
huh. Okay.
Short for Windward Shoals.
Hmm. Okay. I feel like I should know that, and I'm drawing a blank.
It's original. It's original.
Oh, okay. Okay. The way you
Uh,
put it, it sounded like it was a reference to something that I should be familiar with.
well, I mean, there's the idea. Shoals are a very shallow area of water, usually have rocks in them and things like
Right.
that. Windward, of course, is in the direction that winds are pushing. So there's a lighthouse there
Okay.
because you needed one,
Sure.
because the winds are pushing ships towards the shoals.
Okay.
And it's in Lake Superior, the
Oh,
largest of the Great Lakes.
yeah.
Okay. which is also the deepest and the coldest. And this will eventually be part of the attic. And there are definitely no sea serpents.
No.
Absolutely not. Of course not. Absolutely. There are no sea serpents. None of these houses are haunted. Not one.
Not at all.
Come visit. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay. So anyway, yeah. So
right.
that's my little blatant plug.
All right. So everybody else.
Meanwhile, I do promise I'm going to read your novel this coming week.
Oh, thank you.
What's its name?
Dead Money.
Yes, Dead Money. So
I've
enjoyed all your other novels. I'm sure I will enjoy this one. Hint, 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 hint.
Yeah, if you have read them, please put reviews on Amazon because I need them.
Yeah,
it helps bump things up a little.
Absolutely.
And to those watching, please remember to like and share and subscribe to this channel and this video. That'll do it for me. I'm Brian McKinley saying keep your fangs sharp. And David, have a good night.
Best wishes. You too. Take care.